Namaste and welcome to Karuna-Yoga with Compassion with me, Kiran Adipatla. Only if you're driving, don't do this, but if you're sitting or in your bed listening in or actually parked somewhere or stuck in traffic, then for a moment, close your eyes and think about this. If you don't close your eyes, then also you can think about this is you can spend roughly 25 years of your life in a state that looks like death but feels like magic. And we call it sleep. But the ancients, it was the sister of death, a nightly ritual of shedding the self. Today, we are diving deep into the architecture of rest. We will explore why the brain needs to thrash the cash and why yoga philosophy believes that you aren't actually sleeping, but rather returning to your trusted home. In this segment, we go beyond the surface of resting and look at the fascinating machinery of the brain versus the ancient cartography of the soul. And I'm sure this topic is hitting home for many. So please feel free to call and share your thoughts about this. And the number is 1-877-265-5992. I repeat, 1-877-265-5992. For just a moment, let's get technical. What is sleep? From a medical standpoint, sleep is an active physiological process. Your glymphatic system opens up like floodgates, flushing out the waste protein linked to Alzheimer's. Simultaneously, your hippocampus, the brain's librarian, starts moving files from short-term to long-term storage. If you look at it from a psychology perspective, it's a period of emotional regulation. Your rapid eye movement, the REM, sleep is basically overnight therapy. It strips the sting away from painful memories so you can wake up with the facts but not the trauma. And since it is a show about yoga and philosophy, we can look at Yoga Sutra's wisdom. Patanjali in the Sutra number 1.10 defines sleep or nidra as a mental modification, which is vritti, based on the absence of content. The mind resting on the feeling of nothingness. Yoga teaches that even in deep sleep, a subtle witness is present. This is why you know you slept well when you wake up. Someone was there to observe the silence. It's incredible how modern neuroscience is finally finding the how for the why that yogis have known for the millennia. Science talks about lucid dreams and metacognition, the ability to be aware of your own thoughts. And yoga calls this the awakening of the buddhi, the higher intellect. When buddhi is sharp, you don't get lost in the movie of your life. You realize you're the one watching the screen. And science says sleep is essential because it triggers the release of human growth hormone and repairs the tissue. Yoga addresses a deeper layer. During the day, your prana or the life force is leaked through the stress, talking, and constant sensory input. And when the ego interferes, less during sleep, the prana is finally free to flow without blockage. It acts like the master healer, rushing to the parts of the body that are physically or energetically depleted. Think of this way. Science describes the hardware repair, but yoga describes the software update and the reconnection to the Wi-Fi of the universe. At this moment, allow me to ask you this. How many of you feel sleep deprived, easily doze off while watching a TV or reading a book? Call me and share your experiences. The number again is 1-877-265-5992. When we ignore the call of sleep, we aren't just losing time, we are accumulating biological debt. Both modern medicine and yoga philosophy agree on this point that a debt to the body always comes due with interest. Here is what happens when sleep deprivation becomes a lifestyle. The short term, when you're deprivated for 24 to 48 hours, after 24 hours of no sleep, your cognitive impairment is equivalent to a blood alcohol content of 0.10%, which is legally drunk. Your amygdala, the emotional center, becomes 60% more reactive, meaning you will snap at a coworker or cry over a dropped pen. In yoga view, this is extreme rajas or agitation. The mind loses its discernment, viveka. You are physically present, but your higher self has left the building. Then, if your body is medium term, sleep deprived for 1 to 2 weeks, your body starts becoming insulin resistant. Your satiety hormone, that is leptin, plunges and your hunger hormone spikes. So for example, this is young professional working 80 hours a week. They find themselves craving sugar and caffeine at 3 p.m. because the brain is screaming for easy energy to stay awake. And if we maintain this for months and years to come, the lymphatic system fails to clear out proteins. This leads to chronic inflammation, high blood pressure, and weakened immune system. And what does the yoga views talk about? This is a state of your tamasic exhaustion. The life force prana is so depleted that the body enters a survival mode, making spiritual growth or even basic happiness almost impossible. Now let's connect this across the age or the lifespan that we have around us or going through ourselves as well. The teenagers, their circadian wrist. In reality, teenagers have a biological phase delay. Their bodies naturally don't want to produce melatonin until 11 p.m. or midnight. But staying up late on blue light devices pushes that to 12 to 2 a.m. Needing 9 to 10 hours of sleep and wanting to sleep in is okay. But social jet lag, sleeping 5 hours during the week and 12 hours on a Sunday, that's not okay. This keeps the brain in a permanent state of recovery mode, affecting the IQ and emotional stability. Let's move up on the age. For the new mothers, nature equips the mothers with a hypersensitive maternal brain that can wake up at the slightest of the sound. What is a yogic solution? 8 hours block sleep is impossible, so mothers must master the yoga nidra. We will talk about it in the later time of the talk. It's okay to wake up every 2 to 3 hours of period for months. The body has hormonal buffers, oxytocin, to help. Whereas what's not okay is ignoring the sleep, the advice when they say sleep when the baby sleeps rule, to do the chores. This leads to postpartum depletion where prana is completely drained. Professionals, the high performance myth. They're working until 1 a.m., powering through. When you do this, the brain stops realizing that it is impaired. You think you're performing well, but your micro sleeps, the seconds where the brain goes offline, that increases. The best way to fix it is practice pratyahara, sensory withdrawals. At 6 p.m. to signal the end of the battle. Stop your work. And as we grow older, as we age, our sleeps become lighter and more fragmented. The deep sleep or the slow wave sleep phase naturally shortens. It's okay to wake up early, take 20 minutes midday nap, needing slightly less sleep, 7 hours instead of 9. But what's not okay is assuming that insomnia is part of getting old. Chronic inability to fall asleep is often linked to small movement or late life anxiety. In reality, for a teenager, ideal sleep is 9 to 10 hours. Less than 7 is dangerous. So how to fix it with yoga? Maybe a simple Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. That could be a good technique to teach our teen. Young professionals, 7 to 8 hours, but less than 5 is a brag. Don't do that. Just lie down with legs up the wall for 10 minutes. New parents, 7 plus, but fragmented is okay. Yoga Nidra is for you. And for elderlies, 7 to 8 hours. And if you are 4 to 5 hours on a sedative, then Brahmari Pranayama always comes in handy. And to top all these things, there are these folks who, and which is prevalent in global companies. If you work night shift or a chaotic schedule, your body experiences the misalignment, and science shows this increases the risk of heart disease and obesity actually. So the yoga hack for this is, even if your sleep is irregular, keep your rituals regular. Eat, breathe, and meditate at the same time every day, regardless of when you slept. You give your nervous system a rhythm to hold on to in times of chaos. Look around. What's happening with you or around you with the people you love and care about? Call and share what's happening. The number is 1-877-265-5992. Most of us think sleep preparation starts at 10 p.m. Wrong. Sleep preparation starts the moment you open your eyes. Morning. Get about 10 to 15 minutes of direct sunlight. This sets your circadian clock. It tells your brain the timer for melatonin release starts now, not your phone. Around midday, caffeine has half-life of about 6 hours. If you have a cup at 4 p.m., half of it is still buzzing in your brain at 10 p.m. Evening, that's when you're starting to dim. In yoga, we talk about pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. 2 hours before bed, dim the lights. This mimics the setting sun and the signals the pineal gland to stop producing cortisol and start pumping melatonin. Now, let's get into why. Why are we a generation of tired but not wired? We're physically exhausted, yet the moment our heads hit the pillow, our brains turns into this browser with 40 tabs open, and 3 of them are playing music you can't find. In a natural world, our bodies flow a circadian rhythm. As the sun goes down, melatonin, the sleep signal, should rise and cortisol should drop. We placed the campfire with the smartphone. We replaced it. The blue light emitted by your phone mimics the frequency of morning sunlight. This triggers the adrenal glands in your brain to say, wait, it's actually 7 a.m., release the cortisol. There's a confusion. Even if you fall asleep, you stay in this shallow sleep state. You're physically in bed, but biologically your body thinks it's the middle of a hunt or a harvest. In Yoga Sutras, Patanjali talks about the 5 whales of affliction, and we spoke about this in the last episode in detail. How do we tie that to our mental poisons that cause the human suffering? Or on top of it, it becomes the blueprint of insomnia. Avidya, we forget that we are part of the nature. We think we can hack our biology with the coffee or stay up late until 2 a.m. without a price. And the avidya is the root, the perception or the ignorance of hustle culture that takes us the sleep is for the weak. The ego or the asmita. We think that this is the personalized insomnia. What will they think of my presentation? Did I sound stupid in that meeting? That the ego, the I, is playing the track behind in the back. The attachment, raga, dvesha, and aversion. We are addicted to stimulation. One more episode, one more scroll, we are attached. The pleasure of digital dopamine. And the dvesha, the aversion, which go hand in hand. We lie in the bed dreading tomorrow. We have an aversion of the tasks waiting for us. We don't want the Monday to come. In psychology, this phenomenon is called revenge bedtime procrastination. That's a mouthful, but also is ironic and funny at the same time. And the last one is the fear of letting go, abhinivesha. The fear of death. But in this context, it is the sleep, the fear of losing control. If I stop thinking about my problem, who will solve them? If I fall asleep, the world continues without me. The yoga teaches sleep is a mini death. If you haven't practiced the art of surrender, your mind will fight into this unconscious like a cat being put into a carrier. There is a practical fix. To combat this, we just don't need a better mattress, we need a better philosophy. We need to practice pratipaksha bhavana. When a stressful thought about tomorrow keeps you up, consciously replace it with the opposite. Instead of, I have so much work to do, try, tomorrow's tasks are currently being handled by my future self. Not right now. My job is only to exist. Now let's separate the bedtime stories from the biological facts. We've all heard the old wives' tales about sleep. But when we look at the data, the global history of humans actually rest. The truth is quite fascinating. The 8-hour rule is universal. In reality, while the National Sleep Foundation recommends 7 to 9 hours for adults, sleep is actually an individual thumbprint. People who can thrive on 4 to 6 hours of sleep with no cognitive impairment, there are fewer. However, it affects less than only 1% of the population. For the other 99% trying to survive on 5 hours is the cognitive equivalent of legally intoxicated. Second myth, alcohol helps you sleep. In reality, alcohol is a sedative, not a sleep aid. Sedation is not sleep. Third one, counting sheep is the best way to fall asleep. In actuality, too active for the brain. The most effective method, imagery distraction, visualization, a calm, complex scene like a meadow or a beach. In a research that helped subjects fall asleep 20 minutes faster because it engages the brain enough to keep the worry thoughts away, but enough to keep it in alert. How we sleep is deeply cultural. The modern 8-hour in a dark room is actually a very recent invention. Before the light bulb, humans practiced biphasic sleep. Historian A. Roger Kirk, in his book At a Day's Close, analyzed over 500 references in historical diaries and medical books. People would sleep for 4 hours for sleep, wake up for an hour or two. The watch used to be reading, praying, or intimate conversation, and then returned for the second sleep. The watch period often occurred during the Brahma Muhurta, approximately 3:30 to 5:30 a.m., the time yoga philosophy considers the most spiritual and potent hour for meditation. In Japan, you might see a businessman asleep on a train or a student slumped over a desk in the afternoon. This is inemuri, or sleeping while being present. It isn't seen as laziness, it's a badge of honor. It suggests that the person is so exhausted from work or study that they might simply had to steal a moment of rest. It bridges the gap between public duty and private biological need. And there's this thing about spirit breath of the Himalayas. The Tibetan monks practice the dream yoga or milam. They believe that the maintaining awareness during the transition into sleep, they can navigate the bardo or the intermediate state between death and rebirth. This is what science now calls lucid dreaming. Research from Max Planck Institute has proven that lucid dreams can communicate with the outside world by moving their eyes in a specific pattern while in deep REM sleep as well. So, let's now talk about, we know that our lives are not the same, and we know our techniques may not last the whole time. I am going to actually give you a sleep cheat sheet as we talk. And think of these as micro resets through the day. In the morning, I call it the eye palming technique. Rub your hands together until they're warm and cup them over your closed eyes for 30 seconds. This resets your optic nerve and signals the brain to lower the visual stress. Midday, box breathing technique. Inhale for fold, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and repeat. Hold for 4 and repeat. Do it 3 times. This is a tactical breath used by Navy SEALs actually to instantly drop your cortisol levels. Afternoons, that's when you do the shoulder shrug drop. Inhale, shrug shoulders to the ears. Exhale sharply through the mouth, dropping them. This physically releases the trapped stress in your muscles. And pre-meeting, during the meetings, the jaw release. Run your tongue along the outside of your teeth with your closed mouth. The jaw and the pelvic floor are neurologically linked actually, so relaxing one relaxes the other. Think of this as sleep, S-L-E-E-P. That's a good way to remember. S is sunlight, 30 seconds going out. L is the left nostril, 1 minute breathing through your left nostril. E is exhale, make it longer than your inhale. Another E is empathy, write down one worry and scrape off the paper, throw it away. And P is the presence. Wiggle your toes and feel the weight of your body in your bed, or standing, or walking. I want to leave you with something as we go. As we begin moving from microscopic pathways of the brain to this expansive philosophy of Vedas, there is a story that comes to my mind. It's from the legendary 1001 Nights, the Arabian Nights. And this is the story of the sleeper and the waker. There was once a man in Baghdad named Abu al-Hasan, a simple man who lived a modest life. One evening, he happened to meet a mysterious stranger, who was in fact the great Caliph Harun al-Rashid in disguise. Abu al-Hasan, over a meal, shared his secret and said, "I wish I could be a caliph for just one day to right the wrongs of my neighborhood." Caliph, amused, slipped a powerful herbal sleeping potion into Abu al-Hasan's drink. As Abu al-Hasan fell asleep into a deep, heavy slumber, a state that the Greek called the hypnos and the yogis called the sushupti, Caliph had him carried to the royal palace. He was dressed in the finest of the silks, placed in the royal bed, and surrounded by the servants. When Abu al-Hasan woke up, he was no longer in his humble shack. He was in a palace of marble and gold. The servants bowed, called him commander of the faithful. For one entire day he ruled. He gave orders, he ate delicacies, and he believed in every fiber of his being that he was the caliph. But that night, the caliph again drugged his wine. Abu al-Hasan fell back to his dark, velvety void of sleep. While he was gone, he was carried back to his old, dusty home and dressed in his rags. When he woke up the next morning, he was heartbroken. He cried out for his servants, insisting that he was the caliph. His neighbors called him mad, but here is the yogic twist of the story. Which life was the dream? When was he in the palace? The shack was forgotten. When he was in the shack, the palace was a memory. This story is an ancient metaphor for the very thing we have discussed today. In yoga, we are taught that our waking life, with all this stress, its to-do lists, are all caliph-like, ambitious. It is just one state of consciousness. And our sleep is the greatest leveler. When you sleep, you leave behind the ragged clothes of your daily worries. You enter the palace of the soul, where you are neither a worker, nor a parent, nor a failure, nor a success. You're simply the Atman, the witness. The story reminds us that the sleep is the bridge between the world we think is real and the world that actually is. So, as you prepare for bed tonight, remember Abu al-Hasan. Do not be afraid to let go of your Baghdad, your daily life. Surrender your silk robes and your rags all alike. Trust that the same intelligence that clears the waste from your brain cells and then moves your memories to your long-term shortage is the same intelligence that dreams the universe into being. Go to your place of dreams with a heart full of sattva or peace and a breath that is slow and deep. I'm Kiran Adibatla. Thank you for listening to Karuna-Yoga with compassion. Until next time, may your sleep be deep and your awakening be clear. Namaste.